not to stop the conversation.
Right.
I have that ability to stop conversations. I didn't mean to. First Samuel 18 and 19 tonight. Yep. Good evening, Throttle Up Biker Bible Study. What a cold and frigid day out there. Cold rain and that water. Oh my goodness. So y'all know how much it rained last night? I don't know. I mean, it rained a lot, right?
Yeah.
There's no water in the ditch. That scares me. Where's it going? You know?
I don't think it rained that much. So.
Well, my garbage can said it did because the lid flew off and it's got 3 inches of water in the bottom of the trash can. But anyway.
18.
Yeah. 1 Samuel chapter 18. We'll get there in a second. Y'all having a good week so far?
Yeah.
It's been a run this week, that's for sure. That's for sure. But I'm very, very happy with all the stuff that's going on. Pardon me as I pull off my gloves so I can actually make the phone work. Anyway, so we're in the book of 1 Samuel here on Wednesday nights, and we are talking about King Saul and Samuel and this little kid called David. And last week we talked about him getting in a confrontation with somebody. Remember that? Yeah, who was that?
Right.
And what was weird about Goliath? He was a giant. He was an intimidating foe. And last week I gave you the example that I heard a pastor use years before. It would be like Shaquille O'Neal and Danny DeVito. Right? So here's Danny DeVito looking up at Shaquille, right? Now, David was this little kid that was a shepherd. And all of the Israeli army, the Hebrew army, the Israeli, it's not the Israelis, that's not what they're called. The Israelites, that's it, thank you. The Israelite army wouldn't go up against Goliath. And every day he came out and they taunted him twice a day, right? For 40 days. But on the 41st day, David's there and he's like, you can't let him do that. So Saul tries to put his armor on David, and David can't move. And I said it reminded me of that little kid in the Christmas Story, right? He's like, you can't move, right? So he goes to the creek, river, and picks up 5 smooth stones. And goes up against Goliath, and Goliath laughs at him, right? So he takes out one of those smooth stones and whips it around and pops him right in the... And it goes in, like the quarter in the...
Slot machine?
No, in the movie with Magneto. I can't think of the Marvel Comics. X-Men, that's it, right? So that's what I think of when I think of that scene. It took 1 stone to kill him. He picked up 5. Remember why? We haven't read it, but there is documentation that Goliath had 4 brothers.
Oh.
So he was just being prepared, right? He didn't know what was going to happen, right? But God did, right?
Yes, it had to be hard to aim too. You might not hit on the first throw.
Well, now that's true, but a talented guy that can kill a wolf or a bear, thank you.
Or a lion.
Lion, yeah, not wolf, lion or bear, right? So, but still, here's David, right? Whipping this thing out, knocking out the... So Saul says, well, whose son is that, right? And they tell him that's Jesse's son.
Not Jesse's girl.
Nah. That's why I miss her when she's not here, because she picks up on what I'm going to. Anyway, so Saul invites him to come back to this place, right, and makes him his armor bearer from before, but also he plays the
Liar.
I am not. I'm telling you this story. Yes, plays the harp, the lyre, right? So anyway, yes.
David wasn't that young. He was not a little kid.
Well, no, I'm not talking like 5 or 6, right? No.
He was probably up towards 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
They call him a youth, though.
You called him a Ute. That's right.
Okay.
All right. So, oops, not 19. We're in 18. Come on. Anyway, let me open us up in a word of prayer, and we'll get back into this in chapter 18. Heavenly Father, Lord God, again, we thank you for this place that you've given us, this nice, warm facility. Father, that we can just sit here and have a good time and talk about your word, what happened so long ago, and how it affects our lives even today. Lord, thank you for these people's hearts that want to learn about you and what all goes on. Father, I thank you for those that will watch online as well. Lord, I just ask you to be with us now as we study more about David, Saul, and Samuel, Jonathan, and all the rest. In Jesus' holy and precious name, amen. All right, so here we go. Chapter 18, verse 1 says this. It says, as soon as he had finished speaking to Saul, now this is David answering. Remember the last thing he said last week. And so Saul said, whose son are you, young man? And David said, I am the son of your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. I have a hard time with that word. But anyway, so as soon as he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. So what do you think that means?
Blood brothers.
It sounds to me like there was some kind of divine intervention there, and that, it said their souls were knit.
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like that's something God did.
I agree it is something that God did. Now, I made this statement probably about a month ago, when Jonathan was out killing the Philistines and Saul was taking the credit for it. I said that they made Saul the king, which was a big mistake. They would have been better if they'd made Jonathan the king, but that wasn't God's plan, right?
Right.
So here's Saul, Saul's son, Jonathan and David, and now they're blood brothers, right? So verse 2 says, and Saul took him that day and would not let him return to his father's house. He wants him there with him no matter what, right? Now that now that David and his son Jonathan are so close. Then Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as his own soul. I think the writer here is trying to tell us how close these two are. They're not just friends. They're not just best friends. They are more like brothers, right? And I think about the battlefield and guys, in the military that get so close that they can finish each other's statements like a married couple, right? I mean, that they get that close. They have to, right? But here's verse 4. Check this out. It says, and Jonathan stripped himself. Pardon me as I turn the page. I don't mean to leave you hanging with him stripping. Anyway, of the robe that was on him and gave it to David and his armor and even his sword and his bow and his belt. I'm glad they stopped there, right? So that he gives him all of his armor, everything about his military attire, right? And then 5 says, and David went out and was successful wherever Saul sent him, so that Saul set him over the men of war. Ooh. And this was good in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. So, check this out. Saul's son Jonathan gives David his attire, and Saul goes out and starts destroying the Philistines, right? He already killed the big dude. Now he's after the rest of them. And that sounds like a good thing, right? Because those are the ones that came up against the Israelites. So everybody should be happy, right? Well, except Jesse, right? That's my kid out there, right? He's going to be. But look, everything's going fine. Everybody loves in verse 6. As they were coming home, when David returned from striking down the Philistine, the women came out of all the cities of Israel. You got to remember, that's quite a bunch, right? And they were dancing, and they were singing and dancing to meet King Saul. With tambourines and with songs of joy and with musical instruments. And if it stopped there, everything would be great. But no, look what it says, 7. And the women sang to one another as they celebrated, Saul has struck down his thousands. Yay! Way to go, Saul. Oh, and David has struck down tens of thousands. What? Wait a minute. You were out here to celebrate Saul, and now you say that David has struck down tens of thousands. Why hasn't Saul struck down tens of thousands, right? Because he didn't have the Lord with him. Interesting. Interesting. Check that out, Saul. Wow. Ooh. Ooh. And Saul was very happy that David had done so well, right? No. Saul was very angry, and this saying displeased him. Displeased, what word, right? And he said, they have ascribed to David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed 10,000. And what more can he have but the kingdom? He's after my job. It doesn't say that, but that's in my mind. He's like, the people are liking him better. You know, maybe he's after my kingdom. Uh-oh. And Saul eyed David from that day on. Gave him the stink eye, right? You didn't even see it. Just look. Right? You know, the evil eye. That's it. But the next day, a harmful spirit from God, we'll talk about it in a second, rushed upon Saul, and he raved within his house while David was playing the lyre. And as he did day by day, Saul had his spear in his hand. Okay, do you remember a couple of weeks ago I said that the evil spirit, not the evil spirit, but an evil spirit of the Lord came upon Saul once before. And I had to explain what that meant. It's not that the evil spirit is of God. God allowed that evil spirit to come upon. Now, fast forward in time, right? Same thing with, who's that 12th guy they had to kick out, right? No. Iscariot, Judas, right? So yeah, that 12. Not the 12 kids, no, you know, plus the girl. Well, anyway, no, we're talking about Judas, right? So that evil spirit, God allowed. It's not that God sent, but God allowed. That's what I got to make sure that everybody understands. Okay, so where am I here? I'm still talking about God rushed upon Saul, and he raved within his house with David while playing the lyre, trying to calm him down, which he did day by day, right? And Saul had a spear in his hand. Okay, I'm gonna play a harp while you're chasing me with a spear in your hand, because I'm trying to calm you down. Get this picture in your head, right? This is what's going on. Look what it says in 11. And Saul hurled through, right? Through the spear, for he thought, I will pin David to the wall, right? But David evaded him twice. Does King James use a different word there? I think he does. Avoided, yeah. So got away. Okay. So here's Saul. You know, I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm gonna pin you to the wall with his spear. He throws it twice. David's still there playing the lyre, right? Hey man, chill out. Saul was afraid of David. Wait a minute. He's got a harp, I got a spear, and I'm afraid of him. That doesn't make any sense to me. But then you think about this. Saul is confused in his mind anyway, right? It says Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him, David, but had departed from him, Saul, right? So, it says, so Saul removed him from his presence and made him a commander of 1,000. Remember that statement for a second. It said, and he went out and came in before the people, right? So Saul makes David a commander of the army over 1,000, a legion, right? Now, if you think about it carefully, Saul did this to get David out of his house. And in a few chapters or a few books from now, you're going to see David send somebody out to the front lines to get him out of the house so he could take over his wife. I watch how these things play together when you knit it all together. You know, it's like, hey, Saul sent me out to get me away and have me killed. I can do that too. But back to 14, it says this. It says, and David had success in all his undertakings, for the Lord was with him. So he's successful out there in the battlefield. And when Saul saw that he had great success, he stood in fearful awe of him. It's not that kind of awe. No. It's like, that didn't work. I sent him out there to be killed. You know, it doesn't say that in the verse, but if you stand back and look at it, that's exactly what he did. Look then at 16, it says, but all Israel and Judah. Why is Judah different?
It's just one tribe of Israel.
But it's the main tribe of David. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. But all of Israel and Judah loved David, for he went out and came in before them. So he's going out, winning the wars, coming back, celebrating, you know. Well, what's Saul doing during all of this? Saul's sitting at home steaming and is upset that his plan is not working, and he's getting more and more fearful about and jealous. Good word. Check this out. When Saul said to David, here is my elder daughter Merab, I will give her to you for a wife. Only be valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul thought, let not my hand be against him, but let the hand of the Philistines be against him. Okay, I'm going to give you my daughter, but I hope you go out there and die. I don't understand. You know, what's that going to do to your daughter, right? Doesn't care. Look at 18. And David said to Saul, who am I and who are my relatives in my father's clan in Israel, tribe of Judah, right? And that I should be son-in-law to the king. I'm not worthy of being the son-in-law of the king of Israel. How do I rate high enough to get your daughter? Your oldest daughter. Now he's off at war. He comes back home, right? Here's my daughter. 19, and says, but at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, she was given to Adriel, help me with this one, Haliaphite.
Yeah, close,
Good enough, right? For a while. Okay, so Saul promises David, you go do this for me and you can have my daughter. And while he's out doing that for Saul, he gives his daughter to somebody else.
You're the one that killed Goliath is supposed to be his daughter to start with.
Yeah. So that's just not right. Look what happens in 20. Now Saul's daughter Michal, I believe is how you say that, I'm not sure, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. Oh, my next daughter loves Saul. Have we seen something like that before in Israel, where there was one daughter and promised one and got the other one instead? What was their names again? That was Leah and Rachel. They wound up getting both of them, plus two concubines, right? Anyway, it's one of those things where you go, man, I've heard this before, but look what it says now. 21 says, Saul thought, let me give her to him, that she may be a snare for him. Not like a good wife for him or a way to perpetuate our line. No, so we can be a snare for him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. He's still trying to get him killed by the Philistines.
Or hoping that his daughter would be is such a mean woman with an attitude that he'd want to die.
Right?
Right. But now let's follow this logic line with me here. That she will be a snare for him, like Delilah was. For who? Samson, right? Who was a judge of Israel. Don't forget that, right? So he was a defender, or one to bring them back into alliance with God. But Delilah was a snare, set, a trap, right? So then it says, Saul thought, let me give her to him and say she's different. Therefore Saul said to David a second time, now go away or I shall come to you a second time. Sorry. Anyway, it says, you shall now be my son-in-law. Well, he's already said that, and it didn't work out, right? And Saul commanded his servants, speak to David in private and say, behold, the king has delight in you, and all his servants love you. Now then, become the king's son-in-law. Telling the servants to butter him up and convince him he wants to be my son-in-law. Yeah, right. And Saul's servants spoke those words in the ears of David. And David said, does it seem to you a little thing to become the king's son-in-law, since I am a poor man and I have no reputation, meaning my family is not of kingly stature, or what is the royalty, right? I'm not from royalty. Well, actually, he is, but he doesn't know it yet, right? But he's trying to be polite and be the pauper that he is, right? But, you're trying to bestow on me something that I'm not worthy of. We're not worthy, right? 24 then says, and the servants of Saul told him, thus and so did David speak. Thus and so did David speak. Then Saul said, thus shall you say to David, the king desires no bride price. What's a bride price? Dowry. Somebody pegged it right off the bat, right? Dowry, no dowry. Except, let's go with 100 foreskins of Philistines, that he may be avenged the king's enemies. Oh my goodness. I don't want you gold, I don't want you rubies, but bring me 200 foreskins. 100, sorry. 100. He asked for 100, he's going to get 200, but you get the idea, right? So 26 then says this, and when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law. Before the time had expired. What does that mean? So,
Do it within a time frame.
Do it within a time frame. It doesn't say that. However, remember, he'd already offered the first daughter, and while he was out, he gave her away. So this time, David's going to hurry up and do this so that he can get back and get that girl, right? Now that girl does love David. It does say that, right? But look what it is. It says, David rose and went along with his men and killed 200 of the Philistines. Oh, and David brought their foreskins, which were given in full number to the king, that he might become the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him his daughter Michal for a wife. Okay, so this may be gross for some people, but anybody remember the movie Apocalypse Now?
I hadn't seen it in years.
In years and years and years, right? Okay, so it's about this army colonel that goes crazy and is killing villagers and stuff like that. The thing that I want you to remember, though, is he wore a necklace of ears. That was used in another movie, something Soldier, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah. So that's what makes me, this talking about bringing the foreskins of the Philistines makes me think of those movies, because usually you associate that with something crazy. But here it's something good. He wants 100, I'll bring him 200 so I can get the daughter and move on, right? But
in my head, they didn't have any Ziploc bags. Where we carry all those bloody things in? They didn't have any Ziplocs at all.
They had cloth bags and leather bags and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
What did I say? 28. But when Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him, Saul was even more afraid of David. So Saul was David's enemy continually.
Oh, Lord.
Everything I do to set him up, I'm going to give him my daughter. Oh, I'm going to take her away. And I'm going to give him my other daughter, and she's going to be a snare to him. And I'm going to send him to kill all these Philistines. And he's got to bring back their foreskins, which is not something easy to take, I'm pretty sure, right? We'll just leave it at that, right? But listen to this. He did exactly what I wanted. I'm afraid of him.
Exactly what he told him, not what he wanted.
Right. Oh my goodness. So sorry. Ooh, Lord, look at this. Then the princes of the Philistines came out to battle. And as often as they came out, David had more success than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was highly esteemed. So even though Saul's the king, everybody loves David more. Saul's got to be over there steaming, right? He had the Spirit of God upon him, and then it was removed. He lost it. Then the spirit of evil came upon him, allowed by God, right? And pride, right? So now he's got this kid that killed the giant. I'm sending him away to war, trying to get him killed by the family of the rest of them, right? No. Every time he comes back, people love him even more. Well, yeah, because he's a good dude, right? He's doing exactly what you're saying to do. Come on, phone, wake up.
And you don't like him cousins.
What's that?
I said, and you don't like him cousins.
Yep, you don't like him because it. 19, verse 1 says, and Saul spoke to Jonathan his son and to all his servants that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, remember, he and David are now blood brothers, right? But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David. He sees the good in David. And Jonathan told David, hey, Saul, my dad, my father, seeks to kill you. Therefore, be on your guard in the morning. Stay in a secret place and hide yourself. You know, Dad's coming after you, right? Be aware. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are, and I will speak to my father about you. And if I learn anything, I will tell you. Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul his father, and said to him, let not the king sin against his servant David. Sin. Remember, they still have to follow the Mosaic laws, right? They're still bound by, they can't kill an Israelite, you know,
Right.
unless he has killed somebody else or they're caught in adultery. All those things in place, right? But don't sin against David, right? Because he has not sinned against you. And because his deeds have brought good to you. Well, that's good. 5. For he took his life in his hand, and he struck down the Philistines, and the Lord worked a great salvation for all Israel. You saw it and rejoiced. Why then would you still sin against innocent blood by killing David without a cause? Ooh. He just put it straight to Dad, right? He said, hey, buddy. And Saul listened to the voice of Jonathan, and Saul swore, as the Lord lives, he shall not be put to death. Do you believe him for an iota? No. Look at 7. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan reported to him all these things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as before. Meaning he was playing the lyre or getting a spear thrown at him. All of that, right? He is a servant to the king. You know, David still knows his place as far as royalty goes, right? Oh, and by the way, did you catch the fact yet that he's now going to be married to Jonathan's sister? So Jonathan's kind of watching out for his little sis, right? Yeah. What's her name? Michal. Yeah. However you say that. So 8. 8 then says, and there was war again. And David went out and fought with the Philistines again. But he didn't have to bring the foreskins home again, right? So and struck them with a great blow. So they fled before him. He's a pretty good warrior, right? He's a good soldier. 9 then says, then a harmful spirit from the Lord, again, allowed by the Lord, not sent by the Lord, right? Came upon Saul, and he sat in his house with his spear in his hand, and David was playing the lyre. Right? Right? And Saul sought to pin David to the wall with a spear. Again. But he, David, eluded Saul so that he struck the spear into the wall. And David fled and escaped that night. And Saul sent messengers to David's house to watch him, that he might kill him in the morning. But Michal, David's wife, told him, if you do not escape with your life tonight, tomorrow you will be killed. So is that a good wife?
Yes.
Is that a bad daughter?
No.
I'm so sorry. This time of year, it just takes off and oops. This time of year, my nose just takes off and starts running. I apologize.
I was thinking the same thing.
Sorry. Yeah, catch it, right? Anyway, so Michal let David down through the window, and he fled away and escaped. Look at that stupid thumb. Can't move it. It's anyway. So okay. Flashback. Where have we seen women let men down through the window before?
Rahab.
Oh, look, Rahab, who is in the same lineage as David. Do you see how you got to remember everything, right? When you start putting all the puzzle together, you start piecing this together. You've seen this before, right? So Michal let David through the window, and he fled away, and he escaped. 13 says, Michal took an image and laid it on the bed and put a pillow of goat's hair at its head and covered it with the clothes. So what's she doing? Say it. Come on.
So, yeah, just I'm just trying to think, does she cut the goat's head off?
No, just the hair.
Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely putting a dummy in.
Okay, so putting a dummy in, right? A body double, if you want to go that far, right? So, okay, but look what it says. 14. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, oh, he's sick.
You can't kill him today.
You can't kill him today because he's sick. You can't look under, it doesn't say this, but here's where my mind goes. You can't look under these covers. You can't search under the saddle because it's my time of the, right? So once again, it's all about the dad's daughter lying, right, to protect somebody. Now, Rachel was lying to protect herself. What had she done? Stole his idols, right? So now, Michal is protecting David, right? Okay, 15. Check this out. 15. Here we go. Then Saul sent the messengers to see David, saying, bring him to me in the bed, that I may kill him. I don't care if he's sick or not. Bring the whole bed. Push the gurney up here. All right, we got nice level 4s. You can push it. 16. And when the messengers came in, behold, the image was in the bed with a pillow of goat's hair at its head. And Saul said to Michal, why have you deceived me thus and let my enemy go, so that he has escaped? Not your husband, not my son-in-law, but my enemy, right? And Michal answered Saul, he said to me, let me go. Why should I kill you? Who's saying, why should I kill you?
It's just a story she made up to get herself out of trouble.
Yep, exactly right. A story she made up to keep him out of trouble, right? And get herself out of trouble. Sorry. 18. Now David fled and escaped, and he came to Samuel. Ooh, we hadn't seen Samuel in a while, right? Since he anointed him as the future king, even though he didn't know that at the time. Said at Ramah and told him all that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and lived at Naioth. No, Naioth, right? Okay, so now David's with Samuel, and both of them are not on Saul's invite to the next party list, right? Ooh, 19. And it was told Saul, behold, David is at Naioth in Ramah. Then Saul sent messengers to take David, and when they saw the company of the prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing at their head over them, the Spirit of God came upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied. Okay, so God changed the minds of the men that came to take David. And now they are prophesying over those that are there, right? Oh, it gets exciting now. It says, when it was told Saul, he sent other messengers, more. Well, those guys didn't do what I wanted. I'm going to send more. And I'll just keep sending more until I get what I want.
I'm going to send my most corruptible messenger.
Yeah. And they also prophesied. It didn't work, right? Every time they send them, they get converted, right? And Saul sent messengers again a third time, but they also prophesied. Ooh, how many people is he going to go through? No, we don't know. 20, huh?
That's almost like what it wants.
Yeah.
Keep coming back.
Then, through the tube, into the squeezing room, and taffy room. Anyway, 22. Then he himself went to Ramah and came to the great wall that is in the Secu. And he asked, where are Samuel and David? And one said, behold, they are at Naioth in Ramah. And he went there to Naioth at Ramah. And the Spirit of God came upon him also. And as he went, he prophesied until he came to Naioth in Ramah. So even Saul himself started prophesying because he'd been changed by the Spirit of God. "24. And he too stripped off his clothes." Okay, stop right there. So Jonathan strips off his coat and gives it to David. Now Saul is coming to kill him, gets converted, and he strips off his clothes. Look what it says. Look what it says here. It says, and he too stripped off his clothes, and he too prophesied before Samuel, and lay naked all that day and all that night, and thus, it is said, is Saul also among the prophets? Saul had already done so many things wrong. But now, the Spirit of God is upon him because he is prophesying. But is he a prophet, or is he just a puppet? Ooh, doesn't say that. These are Fred's words, right? But this is what I think of. God had a plan, right? And when Saul tried to go against it, even when Samuel tried to go against it, he converted everything to be the way he wanted. So now there's Saul, instead of trying to kill David, prophesying over him, and he's just like everybody else. Man, when God wants something done, he's going to do it, right? He had already chosen David to be the next king. He already had Samuel anoint him as the king, right? But Saul didn't like that. Saul wanted him dead. But now, he's sitting over in a corner whimpering, in my opinion, right? You know, babbling whatever. He's not done yet. He's not. But that's in chapter 20. We'll do that next week.
I'm not making sure to keep going now.
Yeah, it does. I love that about these stories, right? Because it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. Where's it going to end? We're not there yet. Any questions? You excited about this now? This is good stuff, ain't it? I love it. I love it. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you we're going to turn off the camera and do our personal private prayer request. Before I go there, though, I'm going to remind you Sunday, we are in the book of John, and we are, I can't remember, is it 5 weeks or 6 weeks till Easter?
6.
It's 6 weeks till Easter. And I counted it up, for those of you that weren't here Sunday, I counted it up, and we have 6 chapters left to go before the resurrection. So we'll actually do the resurrection on Easter Sunday. I did not plan that. That's totally the Holy Spirit doing that. And I love it. I absolutely love it. But I'm excited about what's coming up. But it reminds you guys, Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Otherwise, we'll see you again next Wednesday, which we will be in 1 Samuel chapter 20. All right.
Messengers keep coming back to Saul. The Lord's got a message